Many thanks for making a date on the marketplace. You're welcome back. Now, government has justified the decision to establish a fiscal council, arguing its verdict would be binding on the economic management team. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta in the 2019 budget announced the establishment of a fiscal council to promote fiscal discipline. However, there are concerns this would be another bureaucratic institution as well as bring some additional cost to the state. But Senior Minister Yao Safo-Mafo says the benefits to the economy far outweigh its cost to the public purse.
President Kufuor left 2008 and 2009. We had found oil but not exploited oil. The oil exploitation kicked in 2011 and GDP went up 14%, and rightly so. It was run down to 3.7% end of 2016. Why would you accept this situation? Why should your deficit run down from 14%? The same oil exploitation was going on. In fact, the production was going up. So if anything, maintain what is there or come within a certain limit. You drop from 14% to 3.7%, and you think there is no need for a fiscal responsibility law. What that law would seek to do is that your deficit cannot be more than, say, 5%. So if you put that law in place, then it means all operators, the governor, the minister, everybody should ensure that we should not go above 5%. We want to protect the microeconomic indicators of the whole system. Look, when these things break down, it takes a lot of individual sacrifices to put them right. People are feeling economic pinch in Ghana. Why? Because the government is taking steps to correct these indicators, and that brings hardship to people because you have to control the finance in the system. So people talk about liquidity crunch, and it has to be done that way because inflation is 15. You're trying to bring inflation down, and inflation and money supply are things you have to look at. So it is important that we should all make sure that certain indicators are now run by law.
So the Senior Minister was speaking to Joy Business at a program organized by Trust Consult for various finance directors at state and private institutions on improving financial management. Let's move on to other stories. And fresh round of borrowings in 2019 would not result in the country being classified as debt distressed. There's a firm assurance coming from Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Government in 2019 budget projected to borrow in excess of $5 billion to undertake infrastructure projects. There have been concerns the situation could lead the country into distress. But speaking to Joy Business at a KPMG 2019 budget forum held in Accra, Ken Ofori-Atta says measures have been put in place to ensure prudent borrowing.
I think we're fine because we keep working on sort of liability management to make sure that we move from the short end to the longer end. And further borrowings will have to look at the three issues of cost of capital, the sustainability as you're talking about, and making sure that the projects are productive and profitable in the long run. It's really always a balancing act. I mean, if we look at the accumulation over the period, you can see a positive primary balance, which means that we are borrowing less than what we have to pay, and so I think it's moved down from our 47% accumulation from 2012-13 to where we are now at 16 and 18%. So we are watching that very keenly to make sure that we don't get into debt distress.
Meanwhile, the Finance Minister says policy measures outlined in the 2019 budget would help position the country as an industrialized economy. George Yafe was at the PricewaterhouseCoopers Budget Forum and brings you more in this report.
The program brought together various players in the economy, business leaders and regulators to review the budget. In his address, the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said the budget has the right policies that would help grow the economy.
The issue of having a sense of stability and therefore filling quite a bit of the holes, there's still some to go, is now to propel ourselves forward and test, our mettle as a republic. This year's budget is essentially expected to lay down the pillars and foundations needed to build what we call a 1,000-year economy of peace and prosperity, infrastructure being a key priority, and industrialization to make sure that we have a thriving, creative economy.
He also talked about the fact that the biggest fears are issues with meeting the review targets.
A big challenge for us is going to be what we do with GRA and the ports as a signal to how serious we are, and what we do with prosecutions going forward. So we will be working very, very actively with the Auditor General and the Special Prosecutor. We have 10,000 NADCO people who are joining the GRA revenue force.
Country partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Vish Ashiagbo, has also described the budget as a document that would aid growth of businesses.
In terms of learning our lessons and where we need to go, I think it's clear. You see from the issues around stability, macroeconomic stability, and the need to maintain that. For me, that's the primary thing, because we've seen that there's a continued emphasis on that. You see that the budget foresees a little bit more expenditure than in previous years. That is why the deficit is going to widen just a little bit, but certainly still within the 5% ceiling that we're working towards. So all in all, I think the budget does touch on the key things that, or where we have to learn lessons, just as you said.
President of Ghana Bankers Association, Al-Hassan and Dani, noted that it's critical for government to put in place measures that would help bring about some fiscal discipline because of its impact on the banking sector.
All of that should be looked at in the context of what government aims to achieve in terms of the fiscal deficit after doing everything that they've said they will do. If they're able to keep that fiscal deficit at the 5% mark, at the 5% mark, then we're not going to be accumulating that volume of debt. We're not going to be increasing the level of the appetite to borrow and raising that interest rate.
However, for some participants at the program, even though they welcome some initiatives in the budget to boost revenue, they still think they are being overtaxed.
Let's also stay a little longer on the budget, because a senior lecturer of economics at the University of Cape Coast has expressed the need to break down government's policies outlined in the 2019 budget for easy understanding of the public. Dr. Mark Amma told Joy Business there's a need for Ghanaians to understand the impact of the budget on businesses. He was sharing his thoughts ahead of a roundtable meeting to be organized by the Department of Data Science and Economic Policy of the School of Economics, University of Cape Coast, on the 22nd of November.
We have basically five thematic areas. The financial implication of the budget. Secondly, we'll talk about poverty and inequality as far as the budget is concerned. How is the extent to which it is addressing the issue of inequality and poverty within the Ghanaian society. Then we'll look also at the fiscal policy implications, and then the business bit. That how is the budget going to support businesses in Ghana, and how businessmen, businesswomen understand the issues therein. As usual, when budgets are read, you have businesses coming up, we want relief, we want that, we want that. Now we look at those critically, and then we'll have to sort out how various reliefs, for example, the tax on personal income tax, the reduction of that tax and so on. How is it going to impact on businesses and so on and so forth? Well, as I said already, these are areas where we have identified experts to speak to the issues so that we could all discuss it. But basically how taxes and reliefs will help businesses to, thrive.
Enough of the budget now. Let's move on to other stories. And management of Multimedia Group has paid a courtesy call on MTN Ghana at the company's head office here in Accra The visit was to help foster strong business ties with the telecommunications giant following years of collaborations between the two companies. CEO of MTN Ghana, Selom Adadevo, pledged his company's continuous support for the multimedia group. Sheila Tamaklo reports.
The telecommunications giant MTN Ghana has over the years collaborated with the multimedia group in various projects ranging from entrepreneurial to social interventions. CEO for MTN Ghana promised continuous support for the multimedia group.
You can count on my support as well to continue to build on those relationships. These are not just important as a personally, but also, but more importantly for the organization to keep building on what we've already spent the last 20 plus years building and developing. So you can count on me to continue to drive and build these relationships and take this forward.
Ken Ansah is the Chief Operations Officer for Radio and Digital Media at the Multimedia Group. He lauded the MTN Ghana Foundation for its role in improving the lives of many Ghanaians.
And you can again count on us to help, strengthen the footprints of the foundation in every sense, and whatever it is doing in making life better for the people that it seeks to serve and provide benefits to.
Also present at the meeting were the Managing Director for Multi TV, Santok Singh, the Head of Business Programming at Multimedia, Emma Morrison, as well as some managers of MTN Ghana.
Meanwhile, CEO of MTN Ghana, Selom Adadevo, is assuring shareholders it will focus its portfolio towards growth and creation of more value for its customers. The telecoms giant listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange recently, making it the first telecommunications company to list on the Bourse. In an interview after a courtesy call by the Multimedia Group, Selom Adadevo assured shareholders the company will work to ensure more value creation.
It's been about 2 months now since the listing. So far, things have gone very well, at least post the list on the stock exchange. The value of the shares have appreciated by about 19 to 20% since then. We're looking forward to continue to deliver on our agenda of digital and ensuring that we deliver the best products and services for our customers. Yeah, we expect to continue to grow, and if you look at what we promised in our prospectus coming up to the IPO, we talked a lot about our strategy going forward being largely driven by our ambition to become, to deliver digital services to our customers. Bold new digital lifestyle is really what we're looking at. We continue to deliver on that mission, and nothing has changed, and we're quite excited going into 2019 with some of the things we have in store to accomplish the promises or to deliver on the promises that we've already made.
It's live on the marketplace with me, Emmanuel Abuaji Riafi. Now, more stories here, and today is the Africa Industrialization Day with a focus on the pharmaceutical sector. Even though Ghana's pharmaceutical industry is expected to reach $1 billion in value by the end of 2018, 70% of pharmaceutical products used in the country is imported. Speaking to Joy Business, Managing Director of Antrans Pharmaceutical, a subsidiary of Topinko Pharmacy, Kojua Trefo, called for incentives for the printing industry to build the capacity to take up printing of pharmaceutical materials. Odilia Ntiama has more.
It's a 20.8 billion industry, has the potential to move from some 45 to 60 billion. I'm talking about the pharmaceutical industry. In Ghana alone, we import about 70% of our medicines, which is 30% locally produced. But guess what? Even the local production virtually has all the active ingredients also imported. So on Africa's Industrialization Day, we're asking the question of policy. We're asking issues relating to exactly how can we make medicines like these reach, well, the people who need it most, and not just reaching them, but reaching them on time to achieve Agenda 2030. At Entrance Pharmaceutical, 93 drugs are produced here. 49 of these drugs were banned on the importation market to create an enabling environment for local industries by government. But the benefits of the ban is yet to kick in, as most of the foreign companies importing the drugs will have their licenses revoked by 2020.
For now, we've not seen the impact because most of them have their medicine registered, and until the expiry of the registration, they can't import again. Some of them, importers, are contacting us to do contract manufacturing from them. So we are still talking. And I'm sure by 2020, most of their licenses will expire, and then they have to take from the local market.
Ghana has 38 pharmaceutical industries, the second largest in the West African sub-region, with Nigeria leading the pack with over 130 companies. It's expected that this will contribute tremendously to the value chain. However, the numbers are not transforming the local economy. Rather, foreign companies are still benefiting from importation. The 30% production done locally has all of its active ingredients still imported, including packaging materials and honey.
For the active pharmaceutical ingredient, it's 100% imported. For packaging material, we say about 80% is imported. Because looking at the packaging material printing in Ghana is very expensive, and therefore will not give you a competitive advantage. That is in terms of the paper industry.
One of the biggest challenges in the pharmaceutical industry is access to investment. While many banks concentrate on short-term borrowing to institutions, this industry will need long-term financing with minimal interest. The Ghana Exim Bank provides exactly that. The interest is 8% and a 2-year respite for the companies to really stand on their feet before repayment.
There are some key things the government can do to fast-track it. Some of them he has started by giving us loans to the Exim Bank to boost industry, to keep financing at a lower cost. That will enable us to put up more industries. In Ghana, we are not doing a lot of sterile production. That's a key area that we need to look at, because almost all injectables, about 80% of injectables and infusions are all imported. So that is the area we need to get the support to be able to build this plant, and then we can reduce our wage bill. We give employment to our people. Once they get employment, there's money in their pocket.
This, however, is not enough, as some government policies truncate the value chain. The Ministry of Health, for example, gives only one company the contract to distribute nationwide a drug at a time. This, the Chamber of Pharmacy says, creates shortage and puts others out of business.
The Chamber appreciates the framework contract. We think that it will help reduce prices of medicines, and that will ensure the sustainability of the National Health Insurance Scheme. But its current state of its implementation is not the best. A situation where one company is awarded the supply of a product across the country, and that is also creating monopoly for some of the companies. We think it needs to be reviewed so that all the players within the industry could have some form of supplies.
This year's Africa Industrialization Day has the pharmaceutical industry in focus to make sure drugs reach every person who needs it to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals.
And we're bringing you more stories on industry as they unfold. Now let's go to Kumasi, and the ICT Center at the Kumasi Children's Home has been refurbished to enhance information and communication technology studies. EcoBank, which undertook the renovation, also provided computers, books, and a set of furniture worth 50,000 Ghana cedis. The reopening of the facility climaxed the 6th EcoBank Day in Kumasi. Prince Apia has more.
The ICT Center for the inmates of the Kumasi Children's Home were renovated with some computers and furniture. This, as part of the EcoBank Day, was meant to enhance the ICT education of the inmates. Abraham Edu Kwating is EcoBank Northern Sector Manager. He says the bank is committed to supporting the orphanage to make a difference in the lives of less fortunate children.
So in Ghana and in Kumasi, to be specific, we chose the Kumasi Children's Home. Now what we have done is that all the staff, we've come together with various contributions in cash and in kind, and so we bought assorted foods, drinks for the children, and then the bank has also come up with 10 computers We have renovated the ICT lab at the Kumasi Children's Home. We've refurbished the place with furniture. The computers have been set up. Our objective is to impact in the lives of these young ones so that they can also feel that they are part of society. They are the vulnerable ones. We believe that, yeah, we can start small and we can start from anywhere. And so for us as staff of EcoBank, this is our contribution to society to help these vulnerable ones so that we can also bring them up.
The bank also partnered Polytank to donate medical consumables, a 600-litre water tank and assorted food to the home. Manager of Kumasi Children's Home, Mabel Boama, is positive about the impact of the renovated facility.
We are so grateful to EcoBank for the renovation of our ICT center, in the sense that we know we are in a technology world. Therefore, coming here to renovate the ICT center will also help the children develop their ICT skills to acquaint themselves with the society. They learn ICT at school as part of their curriculum, and EcoBank also promised bringing in an additional person to come and assist them in learning. Yes, we are in a technology world. Therefore, being in the home doesn't mean you are separated from those outside. So, by so doing, it will also help them to be at equal with their colleagues outside.
And that will be it for the marketplace today. Thank you very much for being my guest this afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. We are bringing more business stories tomorrow on the marketplace. Have a good afternoon.